The United States Secretary of State, John Kerry, on this past Monday, August the 26th, held a press briefing in which he announced the Obama administration's conclusion and determination that the Syrian government used chemical weapons on innocent people. Based on America's history of false flag operations, great doubt exists as to the truth of whether the Syrian government is in fact responsible for the use of chemical weapons, or is America responsible through the use of her proxies. What would Syria have to gain by using chemical weapons to cause America to intervene militarily in her country as she is experiencing this terrible civil war? I think it is America and Europe that are tired of the civil war going on so long without definitive results in the favor of the West and Israel. So it is today as it was with America's client state, Iraq, and Saddam Hussein in his war against Ayatollah or Imam Khomeini and Iran. America did not want Iran to be the victor in that war. America said a victory for Iran was totally unacceptable. So America turned a blind eye to Saddam Hussein's use of chemical weapons that America supplied him, not only killing soldiers, but innocent people for the benefit of others. America never raised a cry then about the use of these heinous weapons, because a victory for Iraq would be in the West's favor by destroying Iran, and a victory for Bashar al-Assad against all that America is doing against him would not be in America's favor or in the favor of Israel. So military intervention by America and a coalition of the willing to accomplish your objectives would be in your favor. And now that England has backed out and some of the coalition are not so willing, is it ego that's driving you to go it alone? Is it that you will be embarrassed if Assad stays in power? I wonder. An article from Russian TV news entitled "Selective Obscenity, U.S. Checkered Record on Chemical Weapons" reports on the history of America's record on the use of chemical weapons. In part, it reads, from 1962 to 1971, the U.S. military sprayed an estimated 20 million gallons of defoliants and herbicides over Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia in a bid to deprive the Viet Cong of food and the natural cover of the jungles. The Vietnamese government estimates that 400,000 people were killed or maimed, and 500,000 children born with birth defects as a result of the so-called rainbow herbicides. A similar legacy was left by the deployment of white phosphorus and depleted uranium following the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. On August the 25th, 2013 Global Research article by David Swanson, Mr. Swanson interestingly entitles his writing "Lying About Syria and the Lying Liars Who Lie About Lying." Listen to what he had to say. U.S. prepares for possible retaliatory strike against Syria in a Los Angeles Times headline. In the article by Mr. Swanson, it reads, quote, "Threatening to attack Syria and moving ships into position to do it are significant, illegal, and immoral actions." So states the writer of the article. The president can claim not to have decided to push the button, but he can't pretend that all the preparations to do so just happened like the weather. According to the UN Charter, it reads, quote, "All members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations." The UN Charter, like the American Constitution, is gradually being ripped to shreds so that there is no more international law and order, just the law and order of the powerful against the weak, both in the world and now in the United States of America. This article provides 10 reasons why America should not attack Syria. You can find the article available to you on our website, www.noi.org, at the time and what must be done. Mr. Swanson sums up his 10 points in this way. He writes, "But guess what? The evidence suggests strongly that the latest chemical weapons claims are as phony as all the previous ones." Global Research News reported in an article June 15, 2013, about a deleted British Daily Mail online article titled "U.S.-Backed Plan for Chemical Weapon Attack in Syria to be Blamed on Assad." What did the British Daily Mail online article of January 29 say? Leaked emails, according to the Daily Mail, have allegedly proved that the White House gave the green light to chemical weapons attack in Syria that could be blamed on the Assad regime and in turn spur international military action in the devastated country. A report released on Monday, January 28, 2013, contains an email exchange between two senior officials at British-based contractor Britam Defense, where a scheme approved by Washington is outlined explaining that Qatar would fund rebel forces in Syria to use chemical weapons. Now, Barack Obama made it clear to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in December of 2012 that the U.S. would not tolerate Syria using chemical weapons against its own people. Let me read this email that we have gotten from that newspaper. It's from David Goulding, and it's to Philip Doughty. It reads, Phil, we've got a new offer. It's about Syria again. Qataris propose an attractive deal and swear that the idea is approved by Washington. We'll have to deliver a CW, chemical weapon, to Homs, a Soviet-origin G-shell from Libya similar to those that Assad should have. They want us to deploy our Ukrainian personnel that should speak Russian and make a video record. Frankly, I don't think it's a good idea, but the sums proposed are enormous. Your opinion? Kind regards, David. The British Daily Mail online article continues. The United States State Department had not returned a request for comment on the alleged emails to Mail Online today at the time of publication. As I heard this on the news, it occurred to me when the first report came of the use of chemical weapons that the rebels and the West were losing the war to take Bashar al-Assad out of power and to destroy his regime. So the introduction of chemical weapons would force President Obama to do what he threatened Assad that he would do if such weapons were used. But there was such an outcry. Israel, who is not a dispassionate observer of this, are the ones that gave intelligence to the United States according to the British Guardian News. Israel told America that it was Assad's regime that was doing this. But the evidence was so overwhelming that it was in fact a lie. So that charge went unanswered and the president was spared having to answer for his statement of crossing the red line by the use of chemical weapons. Now, months later, it comes up again, more devastating than the first time, and Israel again points the finger at the Assad regime. And even though weapons inspectors are there as this broadcast is being made, from the United Nations, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said he was not there to decide who did it, but if chemical weapons were in fact used. So the Secretary General opens a door, and America says, regardless, we have the facts. We know it was Assad, so we're going ahead to punish him. So after the first alleged use of chemical weapons, the U.S. administration decided as a response to step up the type of weapons that they were giving to the rebels, which means America was already arming the Syrian rebels. This was not a civil war in which the people inside Syria were rising against their government alone. No, they were rising, but they were rising against their government with great help from the outside. So now we learn that fighters from all over the Middle East are now in Syria, armed by America through her proxies in Qatar and the United Emirates and other states. Here you will see a map of Syria. I want you to look here. You see red pyramids that represent gas fields and green pyramids that represent oil fields.